Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. We are here to bring you live coverage because there have been more explosions today of devices in Lebanon. You're looking at a live shot of Beirut right there. It is 9:36 p.m. A little earlier today, a large number of walkie-talkies exploded. And also reportedly some solar devices exploded. The Lebanese health ministry, I believe, is reporting that 14 people have been killed today and 450 injured. That's the last number I saw. But this comes a day after the apparent Israel attack on Hezbollah pagers. That was yesterday, which killed, I have to get an updated death toll. Killed at least 12 people yesterday and injured thousands. Well, this is new. This was today, a few hours ago. Walkie-talkies started exploding in Lebanon. I saw one report it's a little unclear to me. I've seen different numbers in terms of how many walkie-talkies exploded. I've seen some very different numbers. But looks like some of these explosions, at least, were more powerful than the ones yesterday. A number of fires were reported. So we want to bring you the latest updates on this. I apologize. I was not able to get on today until now. I would have liked to have gotten on earlier. But some days it doesn't work out. So sorry we didn't get on a little earlier today. But want to bring you the latest updates on what is going on in Lebanon. But a second day of exploding devices, exploding wireless devices in Lebanon. Let's get into it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna give you updates. We're gonna take your comments and questions on the air. And we'll keep an eye on the situation in Lebanon. That, again, is a live shot there of Beirut, Lebanon, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is do this, and then I'm going to mute that. Okay. And I want to thank our moderators who are here with us. I really appreciate our moderators. Actually, maybe for headline, I'll put this up there. Hold on a second. Hezbollah handheld radios detonate across Lebanon in second day of explosions. That is from Reuters. Let's see here. Hey, thanks, Sarah55 is moderating for us. Ruth Krafasi is moderating. Thank you so much for moderating over there. Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us on X. Want to give a shout out to our other moderators too. Over there on Twitch, we have moderating Big Ball of Yarn, Hearsay, Idaho Star, and Mick Bridges. Thank you so much. And I want to thank, actually, hang on a second here. Give me one moment. Give me one moment here. Thank you to our Facebook moderators who are there. I really appreciate them. Beth Shepard is there moderating right now. Kay Lowry Body as well. Thank you. There's, to begin, there's a little video here. There's a video from Reuters showing a mobile phone shop with smoke coming out of it after handheld radios used by Hezbollah, walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah, detonated today across Lebanon's south and Beirut's southern suburbs, a security source and a witness said. So I've seen some reports that these were walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah. Remember yesterday it was Hezbollah pagers that exploded. Let me put this video up there. I have a short video to play you from Reuters here. Let me do that, and then we'll get into the details. Let me put this up on the screen here. Oops. Okay. Hold on. The video goes with the article. See, it says smoke rises. Let's play this for you. Again, this is from Reuters. Is there sound on this? Let's see. Smoke rises from a mobile shop in Lebanon's Sidon. Handheld radios used by Hezbollah, which is a anti-Israel, Iran-supported militant group and political party in Lebanon. Handheld radios used by Hezbollah detonated today, a security source and witness said. And that is a mobile shop with smoke coming out of it. You know, there were a number of fires reported today from these explosions. As I said, at least some of these explosions appear to be bigger today than the ones yesterday. The ones yesterday were pager explosions that seriously injured hundreds of people and injured thousands of people and killed about a dozen people. But those, there were no fires that I'm aware of caused by the explosions yesterday. But as you can see here, this is a building with smoke coming out of it. There were reports of a number of fires caused by the explosions today. I'll play that one more time for you. J7 says claims that all victims are Hezbollah are entirely unjustified. Yeah, I don't know exactly who all the victims are. It appears from reports that there were some people report yesterday who were not in Hezbollah. I can't confirm that. I don't know about today's the victims identified today. I have seen some reports that the walkie-talkies today were Hezbollah walkie-talkies, but you just saw in the Reuters report, it said walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah, but I don't know the nature of who was injured or killed today. And what is this here? All right, so let me read you this update here. This is from Reuters. Handheld radios, i.e., walkie-talkies. Walkie-talkies are like these two-way communications devices. So I'm not a walkie-talkie expert, but I know, like, you know, you can use them to communicate with somebody else. It's not like you can't make a phone call on it, but if somebody else has a walkie-talkie, you can talk to them and they can talk to you. You know, if they're set up correctly. So these would be communications devices. They're not cell phones. You don't send text messages on them. You don't make calls on them. You kind of directly communicate with other people with walkie-talkies with them. Samantha says, if you're in range. Yeah, so they're radio devices. Again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I assume most of you are aware of that. But handheld radios, walkie-talkies used by Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. And again, Reuters is saying these are Hezbollah walkie-talkies. They detonated today across Lebanon's south in Beirut suburbs and the Bekaa Valley, further stoking tensions with Israel a day after similar explosions of the group's pagers. Lebanon's health ministry said 14 people had been killed and 450 injured in today's explosions, while the death toll from yesterday's pager explosions rose to 12, including 2 children with nearly 3,000 injured. At least one of today's blasts took place near a funeral organized by Iran-backed Hezbollah for those killed the previous day when thousands of pagers used by the group exploded across the country and wounded many of its fighters. So there are a couple videos I have seen today of this walkie-talkie explosion at a funeral. So I'll post a link to one of them. I don't own the rights to the video, but I will post a link in the chat right now to a video that Manny Fabian posted where you can see apparently an explosion of a walkie-talkie at a funeral in Beirut. So I am literally posting the link to the video right now. I just posted the link to the video in the chat. You can also go to my X account where I have reposted it. My X account is @Lookner on X. That is right here. So if you go to X and you go to @Lookner and you scroll down, you will be able to see that video posted by Manny. But I just posted it in the chat if you want to check it out as well. It's not graphic, but you see basically a big crowd of people and then you see and hear an explosion. Okay. Hold on a second here. A Reuters reporter in the southern suburbs of Beirut said he saw Hezbollah members frantically taking batteries out of walkie-talkies on them. A Reuters reporter in the southern suburbs of Beirut said he saw Hezbollah members frantically taking batteries out of any walkie-talkies on them that had not exploded, tossing the parts in metal barrels. Lebanon's Red Cross on X said it was responding with 30 ambulance teams to multiple explosions in different areas, including the south of Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley. Hang on one second here. Give me one moment. Give me one moment. I might be able to get, I want to get their post for you if I can, and I'll show it to you. Here it is. Yes, right here. This was their post from 3 hours ago. We are responding with 30 ambulance teams to multiple explosions in different areas, including the south of Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley. More teams from Lebanese Red Cross are on high alert and ready to intervene. That was from roughly 3 hours ago. Reuters says that Hezbollah, which was thrown briefly into disarray after yesterday's pager attacks, said today it had attacked Israeli artillery positions with rockets, the first strike at its archfoe since the blasts, which raised the prospect of a wider Middle East war. The Israeli military said warning sirens sounded a number of times in northern Israel, but there were no reports of any damage or casualties. The Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on Wednesday the center of gravity of the war was moving north, where Lebanon borders Israel and away from Gaza, with more troops and resources being transferred to the north. We are opening a new phase in the war, said the Israeli defense minister. It requires courage, determination, and perseverance for us. Images of the exploded walkie-talkies from today, examined by Reuters, showed an inside panel labeled ICOM and Made in Japan. According to its website, ICOM is a Japan-based radio communications and telephone company. ICOM has said that production of several models of the ICOM handheld radio have been discontinued, including the ICV-82, which appeared to closely match those in images from Lebanon on Wednesday and which was phased out in 2014. There was no immediate reply to ICOM to a request for comment on Wednesday. I'm going to read more here, but so again, though, a number of handheld radios, walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah exploding today in Lebanon. Lebanese health ministry says 14 are dead and 450 injured from these explosions. Also, some solar devices, according to AP, exploded reportedly today in Lebanon. Some of these walkie-talkie explosions apparently caused fires. This video I was showing you before is a video from Reuters from this article, which is a mobile store, I believe in Beirut, where you can see a mobile in Sidon in Lebanon, after an explosion. I think this is, hold on, let me just make sure here. According to the caption, smoke bellows out of a mobile phone shop after handheld radios used by Hezbollah detonated. Handheld radios used by Hezbollah detonated. All right, let me take some comments from you guys. I have a lot more reports on this, but I want to take some comments from you guys. Tactical Byte is talking about if that shop supports Hezbollah operations. I don't know. I don't have specific details about what went on in that shop. I don't know if Hezbollah people were there, if they were fixing walkie-talkies. Who knows? I don't know the connection there specifically. What about cell phones? Cactus Flower says, I have not heard any reports about cell phones blowing up in Lebanon at this point. Our viewer 3033 Nail says, getting crazier and crazier. Oh, our viewer Franklin Smith said I pronounced the name of the town wrong. That is certainly not surprising if that's true. Wikipedia says it's pronounced Saide or Saide. Or Saide. I guess it, or no, it says Sidon. Sidon. There's some different pronounces. Sidon, not Sidon. Sidon says, I think. Let's see here. I'm looking it up on Wikipedia to see what they say the pronunciation is. Sidon, Sidon, they say. Mars X says yesterday was pager day and today was walkie-talkie day. Oh, there's also well, I'll show you. There's a photo of some damage to a car from a walkie-talkie today. So this is an Associated Press article. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Lebanon is rocked again by exploding devices as Israel declares a new phase of war. But see this car here with the broken window and the damage? It says a partly damaged car after what is believed to be the result of a walkie-talkie exploding inside it. Apparently blew out the windows in the southern port city of Sidon. That's from today. That's not yesterday, that's today. A quick thank you, by the way, to Mr. Blanksalot for your support. Also, Mr. McLean, who points out there's reports of children among those impacted by these explosions. But Israel claims all are bad. I don't know if Israel has specifically, I don't believe Israel has made those claims. I don't believe Israel has commented on these explosions and talked about and either confirmed or denied it. So, but McLean is raising concerns about innocent people getting injured or killed in these attacks. Thank you, McLean33. Thanks also to Sea Turtle and thanks also to Ariane7 for your support, Joey Smith, DeShark, Gaia Watcher, Bobby Storm, Spotter, PZ Papa Zulu, Shelley's Castle, Stephen Roberts. Thanks, Mustafa Nator gave a bunch of people gift memberships. Thanks very much for that, Mustafa Nator, and also Andrew. Thank you for your support. Andrew said Lebanon had issued a warning to stay away from communications devices before this happened until further notice. I haven't heard of that. I mean, so just to be clear, yesterday we were hearing reports that Hezbollah or people in Hezbollah were being told to not use certain devices. And also yesterday I remember seeing a report that medical staff was being told to not use certain devices. I'm not aware that the Lebanese government had told people in general to stay away from communication devices. Now, maybe they had, I'm just not aware of it, so I'm just not sure of that. So I don't know if there was any warning for people to stay away from walkie-talkies today. That I just don't know. Thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, let's... and thanks Quake Clouds for subscribing on Twitch, and Pogo Bukin, and I Got That Fire for your support on Twitch, and Tander62, and All That I Am, Annie Kush, Takana as well on Twitch, and the Metalomaniac on Twitch. Thank you. And and also Kitzel Pie for your support, Tracker Jim, and Tracker Jim thinks this could blow up into a massive war, and Inedible Fairy, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if we'll do any kind of coverage of the Titan sub hearings. We'll just have to see what comes out of there. I'm aware of the Titan sub. Thank you for mentioning it. I'm aware of the Titan sub hearings. I can't say whether we'll cover it. It just depends on the news and what other news is going on. But thank you for mentioning it, and thanks for your support, Inedible Fairy. I appreciate it. It's possible. It's possible. What Trucker Jim mentioned, his concern about this blowing up into a massive war. Even before yesterday, even before the pager explosions yesterday and the walkie-talkie explosions today, there were already reports that Israel might be considering a major military action in southern Lebanon to clear Hezbollah from southern Lebanon and allow tens of thousands of Israeli citizens who've had to flee northern Israel because there's been all this fighting between Hezbollah and Israel on the northern border of Israel since October 7th. So there's been talk that Israel might conduct some military operation to clear Hezbollah from southern Lebanon and diminish Hezbollah's capabilities, which would allow Israeli civilians to move back to the border area. But there was talk of that happening possibly even before the last couple days. Could the last couple days make it more likely? Could it be related to a possible? I've seen some speculation that perhaps this is the opening move in an Israeli military action against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. I'll show you a map too, just so you can see what we're talking about here. I should do that. Hang on a second. I will pull up a map here. Yeah, so, here is Israel and there's Lebanon. Oops, it's hard for you to see. Why is it so hard? Israel is here and the border is here. And Gaza is down here. So while Israel has been fighting this war against Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah and Israel have been going back and forth with strikes on the northern border of Israel between Israel and Lebanon. And Hezbollah has been attacking Israel across the northern border, and Israel has been, attacking back. So we're talking about the northern border of Israel, the border with Lebanon. And then there's actually a map from AP about where these some of these explosions were today. Right here. See, thousands. Well, this says pager explosions. Oh, this is not. This is about the pager explosions from yesterday. Injuries from pager explosions. There were pager explosions reported in various parts of Lebanon. So I think I don't. I would have to. This map might be a generalization, but they might be more spread out than within an area. They might be more spread out than this particular dot here or something. But I think it's giving you a general idea of the different regions where explosions were reported, and injuries were reported yesterday. Okay, let's get some more updates on the explosions from today. Also, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything in the last couple minutes. We'll talk more about the walkie-talkies. Oh, and we do have, by the way, this live. I don't see anything happening on it right now, but I do have this live shot of Beirut, which I'll show you. Hang on a moment. I'm going to pull that up on the screen for you. Here is the live shot of Beirut. That is Beirut, Lebanon. It is a little after 10 p.m. there right now. Sir Chattington says, now radios? Yes, more explosions today, walkie-talkies today, and some solar devices reportedly exploded. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go back to this. Oops, not that. Okay, let's get some more from Reuters on the explosions today of these walkie-talkies. Devices bought 5 months ago. The handheld radios, the Hezbollah walkie-talkies that exploded today, were purchased by Hezbollah 5 months ago around the same time as the pagers that exploded yesterday, a security source said. Israel's spy agency Mossad, which has a long history of sophisticated operations on foreign soil, planted explosives inside the pagers imported by Hezbollah months before yesterday's detonations, a senior Lebanese security source and another source told Reuters. We did a stream about this last night, but multiple reports say the pager explosions were the result of Israel implanting small amounts of explosive in the pagers before they ever got to Hezbollah, some sort of supply chain interference by Israel. Okay? Israel's military has declined to comment on the blasts. I think on the blast both yesterday and today. Yesterday's attack wounded many of Hezbollah's fighters and Iran's ambassador to Lebanon. Frontline workers yesterday described hellish scenes of victims of thousands of small explosions linked to pagers used by Hezbollah rushed into hospitals, some with organs protruding, others with missing eyes or fingers. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, called for an independent investigation into the events surrounding yesterday's exploding pagers. The UN Security Council will meet Friday over the pager blasts after a request from Algeria on behalf of Arab states. The Taiwanese pager maker Gold Apollo denied that it had produced the pagers. It said that the pagers were made under a license for the Gold Apollo brand by a company called BAC based in Hungary's capital, Budapest. Hungary on Wednesday claimed the devices had never been in Hungary and that authorities had established BAC was a trading intermediary company with no manufacturing or operations in Hungary. So it's not exactly clear at this point where the exploding pagers were made. Also, please stop putting in the chat utterly false information of a third assassination attempt on Trump. It is completely false. It is utterly false. please, 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 before you spread stuff like that, do a bare minimum of research before spreading that kind of thing. That has been out there for, I want to say, hours, that is false. And I will show you. But please stop doing that. It is not responsible. You are not being a good citizen of the chat by doing this. Okay? Please stop. I have seen it multiple times now. Look, New York State Police. This is 2.5 hours ago. 2.5 hours ago. Reports of explosives found in a vehicle outside the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, Long Island this morning are unfounded. No explosives were found. No explosives were found. Okay? So please stop mentioning this. Trump is doing a rally today in Uniondale, New York. So please stop posting this in the chat. It is false. Okay. That being said, let's get back to this story. Hold on. I also want to mention one of our viewers, because some of our viewers have talked about whether this could lead to a wider war. So we have these pager explosions yesterday, and we have these walkie-talkie explosions today. Is there a chance this could lead to help lead to a wider war between Israel and Lebanon and Hezbollah and Lebanon? We'll talk about that a little more in a second. I do want to take some more comments and questions from you guys. Give me a shout at Lookner. The one and only our viewer thinks Israel is moving into Lebanon soon. Coffee Doctor says, what's next? Electric toothbrushes exploding? Sandra Lee Harutunian Trinity says, this is nuts. Tammy N. David says, I'm hoping they are almost finished for the civilians' sake. Matt Kinney says, Mossad has totally destroyed their ability to communicate. Ella Papone says, using terrorist tactics on terrorists. Eric Wong says, wow, first pagers and now walkie-talkies. What other electronics have been tampered with and are waiting to go off next? Are there others? Good question. Don't know. Jim Iconius on Twitch says, these are like guerrilla warfare tactics. Injure your enemies and make 3 others take care for them. Strain their systems. Darcy says, does anyone know where these walkie-talkies were made? It's not clear yet. It's not clear yet. This article said that the walkie-talkies appeared, some walkie-talkie images appeared to be of walkie-talkies that had been phased out in 2014 by their manufacturer. So some of them resembled walkie-talkies of the ICOM brand, a Japan-based company, but that model was phased out in 2014. Aleppo says ICOM has factories around the world. How many other countries bought them, says Sheila Lewis? Well, I don't know that any, even if there's been no reports in other countries. So you'd have to think if this is an Israel operation that they only, did this to ones that were going to Hezbollah. Ryan Teasdale says, could mobile phones be next? Again, I don't know if Israel has, assuming today is another Israeli attack. It has been widely reported that yesterday's was Israel, and that certainly would be the likely culprit for yesterday, and also the likely culprit for today. Could they have other things planned? Do not know. Thanks to our new member, Inedible Fairy, by the way, also punished FOXO. Thank you. And also Deb R and KYSLDR and Mork from Orc and Boss Play 98. Boss Play 98 says, if it's so easy to blow up a walkie-talkie or pager, if that happened in U.S., we would all be screwed. Thank also Greg Pondell. All right, hang on a moment here. Let me just show you the last part of this article here, and then we'll get to some other details about the walkie-talkies. This talks about how the possibility of maybe this leading to or helping lead to a wider war between Hezbollah and Israel. Hezbollah has vowed to retaliate against Israel for the pagers attacks yesterday. The two sides have been engaged in a cross-border warfare since the warfare, but limited engagements. But the two sides have been engaged in cross-border warfare since the Gaza conflict erupted last October, fueling fears of a wider Middle East war that could drag in the U.S. and Iran. A full-blown war with Israel could devastate Lebanon, which has lurched from one crisis to another in recent years, including a 2019 financial collapse and the 2020 Beirut port blast, that giant explosion in Beirut. Jordan's foreign minister accused Israel of pushing the Middle East to the brink of a regional war by orchestrating a dangerous escalation on many fronts. This analyst, Mohammed Haj Ali of the Carnegie Middle East Center, said Hezbollah wants to avoid an all-out war. It still wants to avoid one. But given the scale, the impact on families, on civilians of the pager attack, and now this walkie-talkie attack, there will be pressure for a stronger response. Look, I was talking about this last night. In late July, Israel assassinated the top commander in Lebanon in an airstrike in the Beirut suburb, and Lebanon the top commander of Hezbollah, and Hezbollah said they were going to have a big response, and they ended up firing a couple hundred rockets. Really wasn't a very big response. Really didn't do much of anything in Israel. So you might say, well, they're going to say they're going to respond to this, and they're not going to do much again. I don't know though, because like that analyst said, we were talking about this last night. I mean, this attack on the pagers and now the walkie-talkies really impacts way more people, both directly. I mean, thousands have been injured and dozens killed, apparently, in these 2 days of attacks. But also, there's plenty of other people who knew somebody who got attacked or were somewhere where an attack happened or near where their attack happened. I'm sure a lot of people in Lebanon were really fearful yesterday and today when these things were exploding in shops and markets and stuff, and they didn't know what was going on. So what the analyst is saying here is there's going to be more pressure on Hezbollah from the population, from their supporters, from the Lebanese population to do something in response to this, to do something bigger. I think it's an interesting point. Hezbollah, Iran's most powerful proxy in the Middle East, said in a statement it would continue to support Hamas in Gaza, and Israel should await a response to the pager massacre, which left fighters and others bloodied, hospitalized, or dead. I need to see if Hezbollah released a new statement today. I'll do that right after this. One Hezbollah official said the detonation of yesterday, the explosions yesterday, were the group's biggest security breach in its history. Also down below here, you can't see it, it says, the plot appears to have been many months in the making. Several sources told Reuters it followed a series of assassinations of Hezbollah and Hamas commanders and leaders ascribed to Israel since the start of the Gaza war. Hezbollah had turned to pagers from mobile phones. Hezbollah had turned to pagers and other low-tech communications devices in an attempt to evade Israeli surveillance of mobile phones. Okay, let me do a quick check here and see. So a number of Hezbollah walkie-talkies exploding today. That's after the pagers explosions of yesterday. And Lebanese Health Ministry says 14 dead, 450 injured in today's explosions. Also some report of solar devices exploding. We'll talk about that. Some of these explosions today appear to be bigger than yesterday. A number of fires were caused reportedly by the explosions today. This is a Reuters video showing smoke. This is a Reuters video showing a smoke coming out of a mobile shop in Sidon, Lebanon, after one or more walkie-talkies exploded. So I don't know that there were as many devices today that exploded as yesterday, but it looks like some of the explosions at least were bigger than yesterday. And as I mentioned, you can also see in this AP article, there's a photo of a car with its windows blown out from a walkie-talkie explosion today. That photo on the right there from AP, it says a partly damaged car after what is believed to be the result of a walkie-talkie exploding inside it today. That's also from Sidon, Lebanon, same town as that video. Vlad Groot Z says first act in war is usually cut communications. So one thing I'll mention in a second is there has been some talk, like The Economist had an article yesterday where they raised the possibility, hey, maybe maybe the attack on the pagers is some sort of prelude. I'm actually going to I think I'm going to take my headphones out for a second because I don't really need them in right now. So let me do that for a second. Hold on a second. We might pause a second here. I think we're pausing for a second. All right, we're back. The Economist was speculating that, the Economist was wondering, could attacking pagers and attacking Hezbollah communications be like the first step in some kind of Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon or something like that? But there was another report today, I think yesterday and today, Axios was claiming that this came out originally last night or early this morning. Axios was claiming that the pager explosions, I believe, were the pagers were Israel put explosives in the pagers to use in the case of a war with Lebanon, but they were worried that of a war in Lebanon with Hezbollah, but Israel was worried that Hezbollah was going to find out about the pagers, so they decided to just use them early, to blow them up early, or before there was ever a war. I'll talk about that in a second. So there's different. It's unclear. Assuming Israel did this, why did they do it at this time? What is the purpose of it? There's questions about this. I'll talk about the Axios report in a second. I do want to say a quick thank you, by the way, to Stephen Roberts. That's so generous of you, Stephen. Thank you so much, Stephen Roberts, for your generous support of the channel. Also, Stephen gave a bunch of people memberships in the YouTube chat. Thank you. If somebody in YouTube or Twitch gives you a membership or subscription, please thank them. That's really nice of you, Stephen. Thanks so much. Really kind of you. Also, thank you, Inedible Fairy, for your support, who says, I wonder why Hezbollah has been targeted and not Hamas at this point. Well, if you mean why has this kind of operation not been carried out on Hamas? I don't know if a similar operation would be. There's different things you might say. You might say, well, maybe Hamas operates in tunnels and they don't use pagers, and there's no similar way that Israel could have set up an operation like this in Hamas, against Hamas, because of the way Hamas operates. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there as one possibility. Another possibility is that, maybe this, I'm sure, was a resource-intensive operation involving lots of intelligence and manpower and expertise to pull this off. And maybe Israel just thought that, for whatever reason, it was best to allocate the resources, a certain amount of resources, towards this operation, and a certain amount of clearly Israel has been putting a lot of resources into the nearly year-long war against Hamas in Gaza. So I can't really speak to whether Israel would have considered or tried a similar operation in Gaza versus Hamas, but you can imagine that maybe the situations are different, but those are just a couple considerations, I would say, in response to that. Also, thank you to Deb R. for your support. Also Crazy Yoda for your support. And also, Crazy Yoda thinks if you wanted to cause confusion and fear among Hezbollah, this was incredibly effective. Now Hezbollah will wonder what else is sabotaged. Drones? Missile launchers? IDF will probably use that confusion and attack. So a number of you think that these attacks, assuming that today is an Israeli attack as well, a number of you think that these might be, something Israel is doing before some kind of wider attack, or maybe invasion of southern Lebanon, wider military movement against Hezbollah. That I don't know. That I do not know. It's an interesting question. Let's see here. Hang on a second. Marjorie Jones says, I read that Axios article. Yeah, Axios has some good reporting about various things. I'm going to talk about that next, I think. Distant Galaxy says this could be a new tactic that wasn't thought of a year ago. Now, this would have had to have been planned in advance. The pagers, and we're seeing reports that both the pagers and the walkie-talkies were received, like 5 or 6 months ago. As to how long, would Israel have had the capability to carry this out before? Remember, a lot more Hezbollah people in Hezbollah have been using pagers lately, because Hezbollah has been switching over to pagers because of worries about Israel being able to track and do surveillance on Hezbollah cell phones. So, a number of articles have suggested that I've said that there was a big move by Hezbollah to pagers earlier this year. And actually, the leader of Hezbollah spoke out against, he gave a speech, I think, in February where he told, if I remember correctly, he told Hezbollah that cell phones are their enemies, that they should not be using cell phones. Let's talk about the Axios report. I think that's interesting. Hang on one second here. Two-acre homestead said a car also exploded. Yeah, you know, and said, I can't tell if this is an EV. I think I did see a report of a car explosion, but I wasn't sure, positive. And yeah, I mean, also Joe Truzman posted a video of a big damage to a motorcycle. So let's see here. But like, I'll post a video. I don't have the rights to the video, but I'll post in the chat. Joe Truzman, who I follow, posted a video that he said it appears to be it's a motorcycle that appears to have been really damaged after a Hezbollah radio or walkie-talkie exploded. So I'll post that link right now. That's from Joe Truzman, at Joe Truzman. It's another video I reposted on my X account. So if you want to see it, you can also just go to my X account, at LookNeuronX. But I just posted a link to it in the chat of this very damaged motorcycle that apparently was damaged from a walkie-talkie explosion today. And yeah, I mean, that's another example of damage greater than what we would have seen from the explosions yesterday. Our viewer, Cher, says it looks like in that video that maybe the walkie-talkie sent the gas tank on fire in the gas tank of the motorcycle. Buck Down says it's more like a scooter. Deputy Dog thinks this is a shaping operation to like shape the battlefield. I want to pass along a report from Axios, by the way. Maybe I'll do this while we look at the Beirut live shot. I'll put on the Beirut live shot for a second for you. I'll turn it down some, though. Oops. This is a live shot of Beirut. You can hear me okay, I assume. But I have a little audio on from the live shot, too. So Axios reports that a couple things here. But I want to specifically mention this. Actually, a couple things. So, where is it here? I want to make sure they're still reporting this. By the way, Axios reports that the walkie-talkie explosions today are the second wave of an Israeli operation that started yesterday. So Axios is saying the explosions are on both days were carried out by Israel. So Barak Ravid, who is with Axios, he said that where is it here? I want to get you the exact word, what he said. Well, one thing he said is that is he talking about the walkie-talkies or the radios? Yes, he said the walkie-talkies. Barak Ravid of Axios said that the walkie-talkies that blew up today were part of Hezbollah's emergency communication system, which is supposed to be used during a war with Israel. Okay? So again, Axios is reporting that the walkie-talkies that blew up today, that's a day after the pagers blew up, they were part of Hezbollah's emergency communication system that was supposed to be used during a war with Israel. That's the claim from Axios. That these walkie-talkies were meant to be used during a war in Israel. Also, Axios claims that the walkie-talkie attacks were carried out because Israel thought that Hezbollah would figure out, now once the pagers had exploded, Israel thought that Hezbollah would soon figure out that there were explosives in the walkie-talkies. Again, I don't know if it's true, but it's an interesting claim that, well, once the pagers exploded, they were going to figure out soon enough that there were explosions in the walkie-talkies. That's the Axios claim. So again, I can't confirm that. Oh, also, and then, yes, so last night, Axios also said this. Last night, Axios reported that the pagers that exploded yesterday were supposed to be used as a surprise. The exploding pagers were supposed to explode as a surprise opening blow in an all-out war against Hezbollah to try to cripple Hezbollah. But Israel became worried that Hezbollah was going to discover the explosives in the pagers, and so Israel decided to let's just explode them now. I don't know if this is true. That's what Axios was saying last night. They were saying that the pagers had explosives put in them. So if Israel actually went to war against Hezbollah, those pagers would explode in like the early stages of the war. And Axios is claiming, but I guess Israel was thinking that for whatever reason Hezbollah was going to figure out that the pagers were rigged with explosives, and so they decided to let's just explode them now. I don't know if that's true, but these are interesting reports from Axios. I leave it to you to say whether you agree with those reports or not, whether you think they're likely true. And I would say that the general, if you take those two reports from Axios together, what it's suggesting is that, again, Axios is reporting that the pagers that exploded yesterday were supposed to actually be something that happened in the first part of a war against Hezbollah, and that the walkie-talkies that exploded today were walkie-talkies that Hezbollah had to use in an emergency during a war with Israel. So it basically, Axios is saying, I didn't hear what that was. What did we just hear? Like a car? Was that just something we heard on the on the stream there? What did we just hear there? I didn't have my headphones in. I got to put my headphones in. That wasn't me. A small pop, a snap. No, that wasn't from me. Did something, did the person, maybe the person filming this dropped something or something like that. Okay. I'll put my headphones back on so I can hear it. All right. It wasn't like an explosion or something. I couldn't tell. Cabinet closing. Okay. I won't worry about it right now. But my point is that what Axios seems to be suggesting is that the pagers and the walkie-talkies exploding was actually supposed to be something that was done in the opening stages of a war with Hezbollah. But that war actually hasn't started yet. You know, it's interesting. I will say, I certainly could buy that Israel would do things. I mean, I'm sure a lot of countries have things they prepare in the case to use in the case of a war that they might not use if there is no war, right? I'm sure major powers, for example, have all kinds of plans in place that for things they could do in an emergency, which they don't actually do. So I certainly find it viable that Israel would rig up a bunch of Hezbollah pagers with explosives and then say, you know what, if we go to war with them, we'll do that. So I don't know that that's what happened, what was the plan here, but I could believe that. When it gets to saying, well, we think Hezbollah might find out about these, so we'll do it anyway. I don't know. I don't. That strikes me as a bit more unlikely. I mean, I guess the alternative is that Hezbollah just finds out about them and dismantles them. And maybe, I don't know that Hezbollah would even publicize it if they found out, because it would be embarrassing for them. But to just say, oh, Hezbollah found out about it, all right, well, we'll just blow them up today. I don't know. It seems like a big deal to blow them up. And that you just say, well, I guess we'll just blow them up today because they're going to find out about them. I don't know. I don't know. That seems less likely to me than having them there just in case of a war. So I don't know what you think about that. But anyways, it's interesting reporting from Axios. If you want to read the whole report, go to Axios.com. And you can also go to Barack Ravid on X. But I thought that was worth talking about. I'll see what you guys think about that. Let's see here. Our viewer, Nuclear Salmon, says use them or lose them. There was another report by Joyce Karam with Al Monitor yesterday, which claimed that the pagers were exploded yesterday because some people in Hezbollah had started to figure out that these pagers were rigged with explosives. Again, I don't know if this is true, but there's a couple reports out there claiming that Israel did it yesterday because they were worried that they were going to be exposed. Smitty says, what is going to blow up next? Now, Amber Donker says, you so sure the war hasn't started yet? I mean, look, so there's no obvious signs of a big Israeli military operation like an invasion of southern Lebanon happening yet. Could this be part of that? In theory, maybe. But yeah, the war has not started yet. There's no overt signs of that. Could it in the future? Maybe. Although maybe, in 3 days if something happens, people will look back on this and say, this was the first part of it. So what can I say? Let's see here. I want to talk more about these wireless devices. The walkie-talkies that exploded today. We should talk about that. And the reports of solar devices. We'll talk about more about this in a second. Dark Cloud says, I think the pagers and walkie-talkies were all delivered and being used, so Israel was like, just explode them. Patricia Banks says there's no way Hezbollah can communicate now. Cincy thinks Israel did it as a psychological tool. They have been watching everyone's locations from the signals. Well, just to be clear, pagers, I don't know if Israel, there's been no reporting that Israel did something else to the pagers, but pagers themselves, I don't believe are location trackable. That is why Hezbollah had a reason why Hezbollah had switched to them. Whether Israel, when they reportedly put explosives into the pagers, did something else to be able to track the pagers, that I don't know. Let's talk more about the walkie-talkies. Thank you, by the way, to Midas for your support. Also, Shaf. Shaf says, makes you wonder what else does Israel have lined up. Only time will tell. And thank you, Inedible Fairy, as well. Sorry, let me just make sure I'm not missing any big updates here. There's a lot going on. By the way, a little bit of an unrelated update. And a different story, but I like to pass on other news when I see it. So the Teamsters Union has announced they will make no endorsement for U.S. president. It's a big union. The Teamsters Union in the U.S. is, according to Wikipedia, 1.3 million people. No endorsement for U.S. president from the Teamsters. The General Executive Board elected to not to endorse any candidate for president. The union found no definitive support among members for either party's nominee. Anyways, I don't want to get all into that now. I just posted a link to it on my X account. You can also go to the Teamsters.org website and see their statement on it. I don't want to get sidetracked on that, but I did want to just mention it because I just saw it. All right. All right, let's get back to this. Hold on a moment. One moment here. Sorry, some people are sending me things, and I just want to check a couple of these things real quick. Okay, let's do this. Oops. Missile Hatch says anything with a SIM card can be tracked. I don't know that pager. So again, I don't. I'm not. I don't. I'm not a technological expert, but you can find. Here, let me show you this. There are a number of stories yesterday that talk about how a big reason that Hezbollah was using pagers, one of the big reasons was to not have their location tracked. Look, just as an example, I don't want to get hung up on this right now, but I'll just show you something real quick. You can see this is from the Washington Post from today. Hezbollah turned to pagers in part to avoid Israel's highly sophisticated surveillance. The group's leadership ordered its members to stop using cell phones earlier this year over fears they could be used to track fighters. So what can I say? I don't know the specifics, but that's the reason given. All right, let's maybe we'll talk about that a little more. We got to talk more about the walkie-talkies. Let's talk more about the walkie-talkies and other devices. The new explosions today. AP reports. Hang on a moment. Lebanon is rocked again. Ooh, they have a picture. Hey, they have an exploded walkie-talkie picture. Look at that. Wow. An exploded walkie-talkie. I'm going to get a bigger picture of that. Lebanon is rocked again by exploding devices as Israel declares a new phase of war. Let me get a bigger version of that picture for you guys. One moment here. All right, I need the walkie-talkie picture. There, I got the walkie-talkie picture. I want to get the car picture too. Okay, get that downloaded. Download. Let's look at the walkie-talkie picture. Okay, here is the AP walkie-talkie picture. Look. There's an exploded walkie-talkie. It says ICOM on it. ICOM, according to Reuters, they said they saw pictures, maybe this one, that showed ICOM walkie-talkies, a model that had not been manufactured since 2014. You can actually see the ICOM logo right there. Again, this is an exploded walkie-talkie. Those are like radio communications devices. They're not cell phones. They're devices you would talk on and receive live audio communication on. I mean, that's a pretty powerful explosive. Well, look, as we said, it looks like some of the explosions today were bigger than yesterday. Some fires were caused. Just to literally break this thing apart. Here is also this another picture from today. That is a car in Lebanon, in Sidon, where a walkie-talkie exploded inside the car. And you can see it literally shattered the windows. Look at all the dust inside there, too. Rick Parker says ICOM is one of the top ham radio manufacturers. Let me get into this from get in some of the details here from AP, but it's interesting to see the actual picture of a walkie-talkie that exploded. Hang on a moment here. Yeah, that was a walkie-talkie that exploded inside a house in Baalbek, East Lebanon today. That's from AP. Walkie-talkies, AP reports, walkie-talkies and solar equipment exploded in Beirut and other parts of Lebanon today. Hold on a second here. Walkie-talkies and solar equipment exploded in Beirut and other parts of Lebanon today in an apparent second wave of attacks targeting devices a day after pagers used by Hezbollah blew up. State media and officials for Hezbollah said at least 14 people were killed and more than 450 wounded today in the second wave, the health ministry said. I believe yesterday's toll is 12 people reported killed and about 2,800 injured. The attacks today and yesterday, which were widely believed to be carried out by Israel targeting Hezbollah, but also have killed civilians, have hiked fears that the two sides' simmering conflict could escalate into all-out war. Speaking to Israeli troops today, the Israeli defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said, "We are at the start of a new phase in the war. It requires courage, determination, and perseverance." He made no mention of the exploding devices, but praised the work of Israel's army and security agencies, saying the results are very impressive. What exactly is this whole new phase of the war? I don't know. Actually, while I'm reading this, I'll put this picture on the side here so you can see it. Let's put this over. This is the AP picture. We'll put it right here. Actually, I don't know if it's going to stay there. If I scroll down the article, I'd have to just do this. In today's attacks, several blasts were heard at a funeral in Beirut for 3 Hezbollah members and a child killed by exploding pagers the day before, according to an Associated Press journalist at the scene. I have posted a video. Manny Fabian posted a couple videos that were supposedly from this funeral today. It was a funeral for people killed yesterday by the pagers, and then a walkie-talkie exploded at the funeral. I will post a link. You can find that video on my X account at Lookner. I'll post a link to it in the chat right now. It's not graphic, but it shows an explosion at this funeral. I just posted the link in the chat. So, several blasts, actually, it says here, several blasts were heard at this funeral today for people who'd been killed yesterday. Also, an AP photographer in the southern Lebanese city of Sidon saw a car and a mobile phone shop damaged after devices exploded inside of them. We showed you the picture of the car. I think it's the same car. This picture right here. That is a car in Lebanon damaged when a walkie-talkie exploded inside of it. And then the mobile shop I showed you a video of before, but I also can show you a photo of the mobile shop from AP right here. See that photo right there? Can you see it? Lebanese soldiers and firefighters gather outside a mobile shop after what is believed to be the result of a walkie-talkie exploding inside of it. Inside in Lebanon. Let me just go down here. And then check this out here. A girl was hurt in the south of Lebanon when a home solar energy system blew up, the state news agency reported. So, again, AP reports that walkie-talkies and solar equipment exploded in Beirut and other parts of Lebanon today. The new blasts hit a country still roiling with confusion and anger after yesterday's pager bombings, which killed at least 12 people, including 2 children, and wounded some 2,800 others. The second wave of explosions today of the walkie-talkies and other devices also deepens concern over the potentially indiscriminate casualties caused in the attacks, in which hundreds of blasts went off wherever the holder of the pager happened to be. In homes, in cars, at grocery stores, and in cafes, often with family or bystanders nearby. While the pagers were used by Hezbollah members, there was no guarantee who was holding the device at the time it was detonated. Also, many of the casualties were not Hezbollah fighters, but members of the group's extensive civilian operations, mainly serving Lebanon's Shiite community. Hezbollah is also a political party that's part of the government there. At least 2 health workers were among those killed yesterday. Doctors, nurses, paramedics, charity workers, teachers, and office administrators work for Hezbollah-linked organizations, and an unknown number had pagers. Mary Ellen O'Connell, a professor of law and international peace studies at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, said booby traps are banned under international law. Weaponizing an object used by civilians is strictly prohibited, she said. The UN Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, called for an independent investigation into the mass explosions, saying the fear and terror unleashed is profound. I'll take a few comments. I want to read more of this article, but I want to take a few comments for you. You know, I don't know if Israel would say. I mean, Israel has not commented on the pager explosions and the walkie-talkie explosions, but if Israel started commenting on it, would they say that the walkie-talkies were not civilian devices? They're like military equipment used by this military force that's attacking them? Is that what Israel would say? I don't know. We talked about this yesterday. There's different opinions on these attacks by Israel. We talked about it yesterday, about the attacks yesterday, but there's the attacks today, and about whether they cross some sort of line. Let me take some more comments from you guys, and then we'll read a little more. Thank you, by the way, to Stevie Augie. Stevie said, I said yesterday how the pure human effort it took to organize this is wild. Tampering with all these devices at an industrial level? I mean, between yesterday and today, we're talking about a lot of devices. Certainly hundreds, possibly thousands. Thank you also, Midas, for your support. Take a few more comments here. Hang on. A lot of... Dina Schultz said the White House was talking about it in their press briefing. Maybe I'll... Are they live now? Maybe I'll check in on it. Hold on a second. Maybe I can check in on it and then rewind it. Hold on a second here. Yeah, let me just quickly check the White House press briefing. Hold on and see. It's been going on for a little while. Did John Kirby speak? Let's just take a second. Thanks to our viewer for mentioning it. Let's take a second and throw this up on the screen for you. Here. Okay, we'll put that up on the screen and just see what was talked about. Oops.
Gracias, Karim. Buenas 9,5
committed to promoting opportunities.
Hold on. I just want to get to the part where they talk about,
including.
Hold on. Where they talk about, I'm sure it's discussed. I see John Kirby was there, so I would not be surprised if he is discussing it.
Is
President Biden elevated the Quad to the leader level for the summit that the Quad is more strategic energy, space.
Fine.
between the United States and the couple of days. Last couple of days is going to speak to Congress. Just not going to get into what kind of impact those incidents are going to have. I'm simply not going to be able
Oh, I think it was asked about.
There are certainly no close. Thank you. Appreciate your patience.
I think this is National Security Council spokesman John Kirby taking questions. So it looks like a couple of questions were asked about the Israel stuff. Sorry, the Hezbollah explosions stuff. So let's just take a second and listen to this and see what he had to say. I'll turn the volume up. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want to see what this was. This was a few minutes ago.
Admiral, what's the White House response to the exploding walkie-talkies in Lebanon today? I know Karine addressed the pagers yesterday, but what's the latest U.S. assessment, and does the U.S. consider this a justifiable escalation?
What I can tell you is we were not involved in yesterday's incidents or today's in any way, and I don't have anything more to share.
Has the Israelis let you know about these operations?
I don't have anything more to share today.
Confirm that it's the U.S. assessment that the Israelis were behind all this.
Nothing more to share.
The Israeli defense minister said today that this is a new era of the war. What's the White House's response to that, and how concerned are you that this will cause this escalation?
All I'll say is that we want to see the war end, and everything we've been doing since the beginning has been designed to prevent the conflict from escalating. We still believe, for instance, that there is a diplomatic path forward, that particularly up near Lebanon, and we still believe that while it is increasingly difficult, and we are certainly no closer to finality, that we're going to that we believe a ceasefire deal and a negotiation to get the hostages out is still the best outcome, and we're going to keep pursuing that.
But how do these events move forward any diplomatic solution here?
It's difficult for me to stand up here, Gabe, and tell you exactly how incidents over the last couple of days are going to affect outcomes in the next few days. All I can tell you is we're still putting our shoulder to the wheel to get the hostages home and get a ceasefire in place, as daunting as that is today. And we are still involved in intensive diplomacy to try to prevent a second front from opening up on that border with Lebanon.
Thank you. Given the rhetoric and the attacks in the last few days, it seems like a full-out conflict is inevitable at this point. Would you agree with that assessment? And is the U.S. government preparing for an evacuation of American citizens in Lebanon and/or in Israel in that case?
I think we've learned through experience, particularly over now what's going on almost a year here, that nothing is inevitable when it comes to that particular part of the world and this particular conflict. And we're going to, as I said to Gabe, we're going to do everything we can to see if we can end it and get those hostages home. And your second question was evacuation. I don't have anything with respect to evacuation preparations to talk about. I mean, that's a better question really put to the State Department. I think you know, Laura, as particularly from covering the Pentagon, we have on the shelf, we have evacuation plans available for places all over the world. But I wouldn't lead that to believe that we're in a moment now where we think we need to imminently call for that or act on that right now.
What has been the impact of the latest attacks on the potential for a ceasefire deal in Gaza?
I think it's too soon to know if what happened over the last couple of days is going to have any effect on where we are with a ceasefire deal. Sadly, we aren't any closer to that now than we were even a week ago. So it's difficult to see any immediate impact of these incidents. But but I think it's just too soon to know in general.
Officials have said you were 90% there. Is that still the case?
I think in terms of the agreed framework and the language, that's still the case. The framework has been agreed to. The major architecture of the deal had been agreed to by both sides. But as we said, once you get down to niddling over that last 10%, and you're in that kind of horse trading, it gets real hard, and the details get real specific, and that's where we have run into some resistance, and we're not any closer today than we were a few days ago.
Thanks. CBS News, at least, has learned that the Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, spoke yesterday with the Israeli Defense Minister 2 different times. We've been told no specifics were given about the operation that happened yesterday. Was there any heads up given yesterday that there would be more attacks in Lebanon today?
Well, I'd refer you to the Defense Department to speak to conversations that the Secretary had with Minister Gallant. As I said, there was no U.S. involvement in either of these incidents, and I have nothing.
One thing, though, but awareness it was coming is another.
I recognize the question. I have nothing more to add.
If you're someone who owns a pager like this that's been blown up in Lebanon in recent days, whether it was made by the Taiwanese company or the Hungarian company that may have had a licensing deal with them, should you be concerned it could blow up?
Again, Ed, I have nothing more to add on this.
Yeah. Our sources have confirmed to us it's been widely reported that Israel is responsible for this, but notably you still won't say that. Why is that? Is it because that's not your assessment, or because you don't support what they're doing here?
It's because I don't have anything more to add on this issue. As I said, there was no U.S. involvement, and I'm not going to go beyond that today.
Then let me ask this. These kinds of tactics, blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies, is this type of warfare acceptable to the United States?
Again, Mary, I appreciate the question. I'm simply not going to be able to address these incidents over the last couple of days in any level of detail one way or another.
Okay, let me try one other thing.
Please.
You know, everyone keeps urging, all parties involved not to escalate this. Isn't this an escalation already? I mean, isn't this Israel doing exactly what you've been warning them not to do?
Again, I'm not going to speak to the details of these incidents. I understand that's frustrating. I get it. And I understand where all your questions are coming from. They're all valid. They're all fair. I'm just not going to get into this. I will add, if I could, and restate a little bit to what I said to Gabe. We still don't want to see an escalation of any kind. We don't believe that the way to solve where we're at in this crisis is by additional military operations at all. We still believe that the best way to prevent escalation, to prevent another front from opening up in Lebanon, is through diplomacy, which is why Mr. Hochstein was over in the region this week. And we're still going to pursue those kinds of outcomes.
If a state actor was involved in any way in what took place in Lebanon, is that acceptable behavior by a government?
Look, that's a great hypothetical, Trevor, that I'm simply not going to engage.
So it's not that's not the case, that it was a state actor?
I have nothing more to add on these incidents. I understand the question. I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals or speculate about what did or didn't happen or who might be responsible.
Is there any current intelligence assessment as to who was responsible?
I'm not going to get into intelligence estimates and assessments from here either.
Secretary of State Blinken expressed frustration at the escalations and remarks earlier today, saying it threatens to slow it, to stop a ceasefire deal. Is that the White House's assessment as well, that it's close to being stopped or derailed? Or
look, as I said earlier, I think looking at the last couple of days, it's just a little too soon to know what kind of impact those incidents are going to have in the region writ large, particularly when it comes to the tensions up at the border with Lebanon. On the ceasefire deal and trying to get both sides back to the table, we're still working at that. Nothing's changed. We're still trying to get that done. We understand that even before the incidents of the last couple of days, doing that was real hard, that there wasn't a lot of momentum to be had there or inertia. We recognize that, but we're still working to try to see if we can get that done, because we still believe the best way to get those hostages home is through a negotiated arrangement. On the tensions with Lebanon, again, too soon to know what these incidents are going to mean to the already high tensions between Israel and Hezbollah up at that border, the blue line specifically. All I can tell you is even as recently as a couple of days ago, Amos Hochstein, our envoy, was in the region having discussions to do everything we can from a diplomatic perspective to prevent those tensions from escalating into all-out conflict.
One more just on Wilmington this weekend. Does the president intend to press Prime Minister Modi on human rights abuses while they're talking, one-on-one?
I'll forward through
There's
this
not a
question.
conversation that he has with foreign leaders where he doesn't talk about the importance of respecting the prime minister get ahead of the curve.
International humanitarian law is being followed. So why won't you make an assessment whether these operations that we are seeing in Lebanon indeed are in accordance with international humanitarian law?
I can appreciate that y'all want answers to these questions, and you want them now. I get that. We're talking about incidents that allegedly happened today, apparently happened today, and some that happened yesterday. I'm just not going to get into intelligence assessments one way or another about this. And I would also add that, as we have said from the very beginning, Israel has a right to defend itself. How they do so matters to us, and we don't shy away from having those kinds of conversations with the Israelis as appropriate.
So you're saying Israel is behind these operations?
I did not say that.
Do you think that Israel, whoever committed this attack, is undermining U.S. efforts at avoiding an escalation in the region? And if so, what is the next move to try and prevent that from happening?
We're going to keep at the work of intense diplomacy to see what we can do to de-escalate, to try to prevent this from becoming a bigger conflict than it already has.
One more. Over the weekend, the Palestinian ministry in Gaza submitted a report with the names, IDs, ages of 34,000 people who've been killed since October 7th. Over 7,000 more whose identities have not been verified. The first 14 pages of the report are babies under the age of 1, and 2 people over the age of 100. Has the White House seen that report, and do you have any comments beyond far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed in this conflict?
Let me take the question for you so I can get you back a good substantive answer. I don't know if we've seen that report. I haven't, but that doesn't mean that somebody here hasn't, so why don't you let me take that back and get you a better answer.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
On U.S. Steel and Napalm Steel, the CFIUS review that's now been, delayed.
I'll skip through to see if there's any more questions on the pagers exploding and the walkie-talkies exploding. As you can see, John Kirby is the White House National Security Communications Advisor. And he does not have much to say on these exploding pagers and exploding walkie-talkies. He's really doesn't want to say much of anything, as you can tell. But let me just forward ahead a little bit and see if there's anything else here.
Or extended a law about
A delay or look, U.S.
China be a focus of the Quad meeting this weekend?
That we talk about. So I have
China as a
view of the people relationship.
United shifting. And today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is meeting with hostage families again, and I'm wondering
That we're found still back in right now.
instances where there's been
We have not an interest.
evidence.
Well, back leadership now we've not been fully briefed on it.
will President Biden host President Zelensky?
Intelligence assessments, specifically, Jonathan, I would just say
blocked Russian forces to try to stage a coup in their country. Is the White House aware?
I'm going to go away from this right now, but again, we were just watching some of the press briefing from a few minutes ago. Thanks to the viewer for mentioning it. And as you saw, John Kirby did not want to discuss and had really nothing much to say about the pager explosions yesterday, the walkie-talkie explosions today. They won't get into who did it. Didn't really have really much to say on it at all. Didn't seem to want to talk about it. So, which was interesting in itself. Very, very little to say about it. Maybe more in the future. So I wanted to just show you guys that. Anyways, we'll see if, oops, what did I just do? That I didn't want to do. It's all right. It's not a big deal. Hold on. Let's try something here. Let me do a quick fix of something here. I just have to fix something real quick here. Okay. Good enough. Hold on. Okay. So let's get back to I want to get back to the pagers and talk about that. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Get rid of that. Not the pagers, the walkie-talkies. We were talking about the walkie-talkies from today. The new explosion, say the walkie-talkies and some solar equipment reportedly exploding. Quick thanks, by the way, to Master Blaster for your support and Diaz M. Thank you. Also, Anaconda 3 on Twitch. Trisha Northstar, thank you. Quake Clouds. Pogo Bukin, thank you. I got that fire, thank you. And also Alex S. Alex S. says the reporters are quick to blame Israel while conveniently forgetting about the daily rocket attacks by Lebanon on Israeli civilians since October. Thanks, Alex. I don't know if some of the reporters seem to be suggesting that they had concerns or there were concerns about, the nature of the attack. But I don't know that they were getting into, I didn't take them as saying, like, we think this is all Israel's fault and there's no responsibility for the other side. But anyways, thank you, Alex S. I really appreciate that, Alex. C-Wired agrees with Alex. That's what C-Wired says in the chat. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. I wanted to just shout out our moderators really quick. We have Ruth Krafasi, and we have Linda Belk and Larry moderating for us on X. Over on Twitch, thank you so much to our moderators over there. We have Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Mark and NC, McBritches, Sarah, and Papa Bear. Thank you. And also on Facebook, we have Kay Lowry Body moderating over there. Raven Lynn, thank you. And others I might be missing over there on Facebook. Thanks for modding over there. Shivani says, why bother to give a press conference with no info? Now, that's not the only topic of the press conference, but I think you want to go out and at least give people a chance to ask questions. But look, I do think eventually the U.S. government will have more to say about this. I can't imagine that a week from now they're still saying we have no comment. But we'll see if the U.S. says something more substantive over the coming days. I can't imagine the U.S. government and other Israeli allies are particularly happy with this attack. I think it could make it harder to avoid an escalation in the Middle East. Also, it's certainly some people around the world will think that it looks poorly for Israel. Others won't. But I don't think it makes life easier for allies of Israel. And the U.S. government is saying that they had no knowledge of this in advance, that it was going to happen, and the nature of the operation. So, my guess is that allies of Israel are not overjoyed, a lot of them, about this happening. Also, I think you could read between the lines. While he did not overtly say a lot, my sense from some of the things he said was that the White House did have concerns about the nature of the attack. He did say things today like Kirby, like, I understand your questions and where they're coming from and all that stuff. So it did seem to me that there were some White House concerns. Okay. Let's talk about the walkie-talkies. Let's just get back to the walkie-talkies. So let me just kind of quickly go over some of this stuff. Again, this is a report from AP. We were reading this a little bit before that briefing came on. Now, Joshua A says the solar equipment may have been someone who had walkie-talkie near the equipment. That I don't know. But let me just do this here. Lebanon is rocked again by exploding devices as Israel declares a new phase of the war. Oh, Hezbollah leader planning to give a speech on Thursday, by the way. He just gave a speech today. Nasrallah is giving a speech tomorrow. Oh, the one thing I want to check before reading this is there a new Hezbollah statement? I have to check their Telegram account. I'm looking from today. I don't see something specifically about today about these new attacks. All right, I just checked there. Let's get back to reporting about the attacks from today. All right, walkie-talkies and solar equipment exploded in Beirut and other parts of Lebanon today in an apparent second wave of attacks targeting devices a day after pagers used by Hezbollah blew up, state media and officials for the militant group said. At least 14 people were killed and more than 450 wounded in today's second wave of what looks like a second wave of an attack by Israel. That's what it looks like today. The attacks, which were widely believed to be carried out by Israel targeting Hezbollah, but also have killed civilians, have hiked fears that the two-side simmering conflict could escalate into all-out war. Speaking to Israeli troops today, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said, "We are at the start of a new phase in the war. It requires courage, determination, and perseverance." He made no mention of the exploding devices, but praised the work of Israel's army and security agencies, saying the results are very impressive. In today's attacks, several blasts were heard at a funeral in Beirut for 3 Hezbollah members and a child who were killed by exploding pagers yesterday. According to Associated Press journalists at the scene, an AP photographer in the southern coastal city of Sidon saw a car and a mobile phone shop damaged after devices exploded inside of them. A girl was hurt in the south when a home solar energy system blew up, the state news agency reported. The new blast hit a country still roiling with confusion and anger after yesterday's pager bombings, which killed at least 12 people, including 2 children, and wounded some 2,800 others. The second wave also deepens concern over the potentially indiscriminate casualties caused in the attacks, in which hundreds of blasts went off wherever the holder of the pager happened to be, in homes, in cars, at grocery stores, and in cafes, often with family or bystanders nearby. While the pagers were used by Hezbollah members, there was no guarantee who was holding the device at the time it was detonated. Also, many of the casualties were not Hezbollah fighters, but members of Hezbollah's extensive civilian operations serving mainly Lebanon's Shiite community. At least 2 health workers were among those killed yesterday. Doctors, nurses, paramedics, charity workers, teachers, and office administrators work for Hezbollah-linked organizations, and an unknown number had pagers. Mary Ellen O'Connell, a professor of law and international peace studies at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, said booby traps are banned under international law. Weaponizing an object used by civilians is strictly prohibited, she said. The UN Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, called for an independent investigation into the mass explosion, saying the fear and terror unleashed is profound. I'm not an international law expert, so I'm not going to get into I'm not going to try to parse international law, but as we've discussed, and we can discuss more, some people think that these attacks, these apparent attacks the last couple of days, cross a line. Others don't. We can talk about that more. Let me just go down a little further here. Iran-backed Hezbollah, Lebanon's strongest armed force, has exchanged fire with Israel's military almost daily since October 8th, the day after the deadly Hamas-led October 7th attack on Israel triggered the war in Gaza. Since October 8th of last year, hundreds have been killed in strikes in Lebanon and dozens of in Israel, while tens of thousands on each side of the border have been displaced. Hezbollah said its strikes are in support of its ally Hamas. So there's this concern, and there's been a concern that, especially, there's been a bunch of reporting recently, even before the attacks on the pagers yesterday, that there might be a larger Israeli-Hezbollah war. There's been reports, I've seen them the last couple of weeks, saying that Israel may be planning some kind of major military operation in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. That was being talked about even before these explosions. You can see here, Israeli leaders have issued a series of warnings in recent weeks that Israel might increase operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon, saying Hezbollah must stop the exchange of fire. Israel saying they must stop the exchange of fire to allow people to return to homes near the border. Israel began moving more troops to its border with Lebanon on today as a precautionary measure, according to an official with knowledge of the movements. The defense minister of Israel said today that after months of fighting Hamas in Gaza, the center of gravity is shifting to the north by diverting resources and forces. Israel's army chief said plans have been drawn up for additional action against Hezbollah. Israeli media says the Israeli government has not yet decided whether to launch a major offensive in Lebanon. Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, is expected to deliver a major speech tomorrow. What will he say? I don't know. Okay. Let me just skip down a little bit here. The pager bombings from yesterday appear to be a complex operation, months in the making, with many experts believing Israel infiltrated the supply chain and rigged hundreds of pagers with explosives before they were imported to Lebanon, but little evidence has emerged so far. A Taiwanese firm, Gold Apollo, said it authorized a Hungary-based company, BAC Consulting KFT, to use the Gold Apollo name on devices delivered to Hezbollah, but a Hungarian government spokesman said today the pagers delivered to Hezbollah were never in Hungary and that BAC Consultants merely acted as an intermediary. So still lots of questions about where exactly these pagers came from. Let's see here. Today's new bombings came as Lebanese were mourning the dead from the day before. 2 explosions today, apparently of walkie-talkies, went off at the edges of a funeral of 2 fighters, a young boy and a paramedic in southern Beirut. Okay. A Hezbollah official told AP that the walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah exploded in several parts of the country today. Lebanon's official news agency said solar energy systems exploded in homes in several areas of Beirut and the south, wounding at least 1 girl. I don't know what to make of that. But again, Lebanon's official news agency said solar energy systems exploded in homes in several areas of Beirut and the south. Just to show you again, here is a picture of a walkie-talkie that exploded, according to Associated Press. Oop, it should not say Live Germany up there, sorry. That is a walkie-talkie that exploded. You can see there's an ICOM logo on it. Reuters said that pictures of walkie-talkies that had exploded that it had seen appeared to be of a model of ICOM walkie-talkie that was discontinued in 2014. But that is certainly a significant amount of damage there. A significant amount of force would be required to break up something like that, I would think. And also, speaking of the force of these explosions, that is a car in Lebanon, according to AP, where a walkie-talkie exploded inside the car today, apparently blowing out the windows of the car. And there were reportedly several fires caused today by explosions of walkie-talkies. It looks like some of these explosions were bigger than the ones yesterday. Apple Tree says, what will happen tomorrow? Let me take some of your comments here. And a quick thanks to Donna Smith for the gift memberships. Thanks, Donna. Also, Kerry Poteet, who thinks these attacks open up a new can of worms for everyone and in various ways. Thanks, Kerry. Thanks also Lisa Cushman, who says, crazy the amount of coordination and planning. And thank you to Eric Rams, who says, Israel is much more advanced than those other countries, organizations, and they are proving it. Stephanie says, so does this make anyone think twice about carrying their phone in their pocket? Oops, let me just get rid of this for a second. A couple of our viewers mentioned an update that I've seen a couple places, including on Faytux News. And just to tell you what that is, it's one of these things where I don't really read too much into reports like this. So I'm certainly think it's good that Faytux posted it. But at the same time, I don't really overly read into reports like this. So is it this one here? Where is it here? Yeah, so what Faytux News said was that N12 News in Israel reported that the Israeli cabinet has given the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister of Israel the authorization to undertake military action against Hezbollah, even if it leads to an all-out war. The cabinet, even if it's true that the cabinet gave authorization to the Prime Minister and Defense Minister to do something, it doesn't mean something's going to happen. So I feel like I've seen a ton over the last year, a ton of those kind of reports. So I don't put too much weight on a report like that. It could end up meaning we might look back and say, wow, that was a sign that some big military action was going to happen. But it also very well could be the case that there is no big Israeli military action in Hezbollah. So I'm aware of the report. Those kind of reports, when I see them, I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll wait and see if something happens. That's my thought on that. I'm glad that Faytux posted it. That's Faytux News, at Faytux. Which is a good day. Faytux posts a lot of good updates from the Middle East. Yeah, the walkie-talkies are different from the pagers. The walkie-talkies are, as I understand it, audio. When I remember as a kid using them and stuff, but they're audio communications devices. They're radio devices, and basically you can communicate. You can speak into them, and you can hear people talking on them. If they're set up, you hear people who are in a certain range and have certain equipment. The pagers are basically devices for getting text messages and reading text messages. You don't talk into the pager, and you don't get audio messages from the pager. Generally speaking, maybe there's some pagers that do this, but different kinds of devices. And the walkie-talkies are what have been exploding today. The pagers was yesterday. Oh, I can give you another update here too. Earth Citizen says walkie-talkie is a short-range communication device. Hang on a moment here. Breaking news. I have some breaking news, which a viewer just mentioned, from Kentucky State Police. Kentucky State Police troopers have located a body in the vicinity of exit 49 of Laurel County, and detectives are working to confirm the identity. That could be the body of the Kentucky I-75 shooter that Kentucky authorities have been looking for. Thanks to the viewer for mentioning it. I just saw that. Again, Alert Page also reposted it. Kentucky State Police have located a body in the vicinity of exit 49 in Laurel County, and are working to confirm the identity. That seems like it may be him. That really seems like it may be him. I'll keep an eye on that. American Prairie Time says he should have, if he's there, he should have been found there before now. I don't know the specifics of the location of the body. I would not be surprised if they announce a press conference in a little bit and say that it's him. Now, some of our viewers are saying, is it true? You can see this person in this comment, Greg Wilder, said a couple was live streaming and found the body. One of our viewers said they saw a live stream. Did you guys see a live stream? Some of our viewers are saying that like the Kentucky in the body was found by live streamers. I cannot show that video. I cannot show that video. Just so people are aware. That is not something I am allowed to do. I can't show the body, and I also can't steal somebody's video. One of our viewers said they just watched it. Some people are saying different channels. Some people are saying different channels in the chat of who, I don't know if they saw it or they've heard it, but I've seen several different channels named claiming that they're the one who streamed it. I don't know who it was. But I've seen different posts in the chat saying different channels. I've seen 3 different channels mentioned in the chat claiming this is the person who was screaming. Again, I can't show that myself. And we'll get back to the walkie-talkies in a second. But I do want to just look into this. I have not seen the video yet. Some of our viewers are mentioning a channel. I just went to the channel that some of the viewers mentioned, and it has a couple recent videos posted, but I don't see anything. Oh, hold on a second here. Do they show it? They don't show it in the video, do they? Yeah, some people are posting the name of it in the chat. I'm skimming through the video, and as I skim through the video, I don't see anything graphic. But maybe I missed the part of it. Tycho said they found it from seeing vultures. It's posted on X. Somebody probably sent it to me. Oh, hold on a second. Somebody sent me something. Again, I can't show it on the air. Oh, I just saw it. Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. I don't think that's going to be up there for long. Hold on. Are you? That is crazy. Wow. No, I can't post the link. Honestly, I don't want to violate any terms of service. But that is just crazy. So, but the video I just watched was streamed today. It looks like the body found in Kentucky was spotted by some people live streaming on YouTube today. I just saw the video. Not particularly pleasant, not pleasant to see. Which was posted today. Which was a live stream from today. But I am not 100% sure it's the same body the Kentucky police found. Okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt the stream, but this was important news. So I might actually cover. I don't know if I should. I feel like maybe I should jump on the air and cover that, because that's like really breaking news. We can do another stream on this later and talk about it. But I mean, I think maybe we should. I should get on the air and cover that. It's a big breaking story. So. Yeah, let me wrap up this stream. We very well might do more stream on this topic. I'm going to really quickly wrap this up. I appreciate everybody I owe thank yous to Low-Key Valkyrie, Randy Hearn, Mitchell Pilot, and all of our moderators. Also, Wall Street Anaconda for your support on Twitch, Trisha Northstar, Quake Clouds, Pogo Buchan, and all of our moderators, Linda Belk, Larry, Ruth Kafasi, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, Idaho Star, Kay Lowry Body, I Got That Fire, Mark Anensi, Mick Bridges, Sarah, Papa Bear, Raven Lynn, Beth Shepard, any other ones I'm not getting. But I'm going to get off the air and then get on the air as soon as I can with another stream. Okay, guys? So I know I'm sorry to cut the stream short, but maybe we'll do another stream like tonight about the story because I didn't feel like we were finished with it, but I got to go cover that. So thanks for watching. I'll be back in a short time. Yeah, I'll be back in a short time. Let me just go set up the broadcast there. It'll be posted on this channel in a few minutes, okay? So let me just get off the air and go do that, and I'll be back on shortly with that stream. All right? I'll see you in a few minutes, hopefully. I'll be here in a few minutes. I hope to see you there.